Dear learners, welcome back to course MHD012 Ecosystem and Natural Resources. In this particular course, we have touched upon different basic broad topic related to sustainability. In the last few sessions, we have covered about 12 major topics, right? So when you talk about ecosystem and natural resource management, and that we have covered most of the concept of ecosystem, natural resources, and how to cope up with or how to manage that properly, and the basic concept and approaches in this course. Now, in this particular session onward, and we are going to talk on one of the important component which is directly related to human food system or food security, that is agrobiodiversity. So from this session onwards, we are going to have another few more sessions related to agrobiodiversity. So in the beginning of this, we can say in our ODL open distance learning system pedagogy, and this we can call it as in the that module in the fourth block of course MSD012. It is on agrobiodiversity, right? In this particular session, we'll touch upon agrobiodiversity and centers of origin of cultivated plants, right? Our general conceptions and general understanding about agrobiodiversity is, it refers to the variety and variability of living organisms that contribute to food production system and associated activities. If you look in its widest interpretation, it includes biodiversity of crop areas. Not only that, it also includes outside the boundaries of that crop areas, as we call as farm areas, and those boundaries are beneficial for agriculture and play a role in regulation of ecosystem function. You know about ecosystem function, and human civilization that has been founded on the services provided by this particular biodiversity, that is agrobiodiversity, which is the production of foods, foils, fiber in an agricultural landscape. So such kind of services have been and continue to be basis for economic development, economic growth for larger proportion of human population. So in this session, we are trying to understand the concept of agrobiodiversity. What are the major scope we can look from agrobiodiversity and its distinctive feature, and what are the origin of that center of origin of these cultivated plants, as we call crop plants. Then we will touch upon on animal genetic diversity, right? If we look into the basic concept of agrobiodiversity, it is a simple certain form of agricultural biodiversity. If you look to the exact definition, which is given by the 5th Conference of Party, we call this COP, that was happened in 2000, to the Convention on Biological Diversity, define the term agricultural biological diversity in a general fashion. All of the elements constituting biological diversity, which relates to food production and agriculture, as well as all of the components of biological diversity, which constitute the agroecosystem, means the variety and the variability of animals, plants, microorganisms, and genetic species in ecosystem levels. We talk about all this level in the beginning of this course in some session. That is necessary for the maintenance of the key function of this agroecosystem, its structure and its process, right? Again, if you look into the definition given by Food and Agricultural Organization in 1999, agrobiodiversity is defined as the variety and the variability of animals, plants, and the microorganisms that are used directly or indirectly. You should know this particular word, directly or indirectly, for food and agriculture, including crops, livestock, forestry, and the fisheries. So it comprises the diversity of genetic resources about the varieties, breeds, and species used for food, fodder, fiber, oil, and pharmaceuticals. It also includes the diversity of non-harvested species that support production, including soil microorganisms, predators, pollinators, and those in the wider environment that support the agroecosystem, that is agricultural, pastoral, forest, and aquatic, as well as the diversity of the whole agroecosystem. You will see here in this figure, the definition given by the FAO that shows that agrobiodiversity is a subset of biodiversity, right? And it is a use of life that is ends. If you look into that, that is ancillary biotechnology by mankind. Whose food and livelihood security is entirely depend on the sustained management of those diverse biological resources that are important for food and agriculture. So it is the result of the careful selection and that inventive development of farmers, livestock breeders, forest worker, fishermen, indigenous people throughout the world over the millennia. It means how agricultural biodiversity was evolved, right? In the sense, how we map the use of biodiversity in the form for the agricultural purpose. We can say that for the production of food, right? In fact, if you look into the reason of agrobiodiversity, is that the interaction between it, in fact, if you look into the agrobiodiversity, what is agrobiodiversity? It is the result of the interaction between the environment, genetic resources, and the management system and practices used by culturally diverse people, right? Thus, if you look into how actually it was evolved, it encompasses the variety and variability of, as we repeatedly explained in the beginning also, that variety and variability of animal, plants, and microorganisms that are necessary for sustaining the key function of agroecosystem, including its structure, process, and the process in support of food production and food security. So, as we know that the evolution of this that cultivation of plant is directly related with the culture, norms, social structures, or local knowledge in the culture, is also therefore be considered as an integral part of biodiversity. The reason behind that is it is the human activity of agriculture that saves and conserves this biodiversity, right? So if you look into what are the major scopes which we can take from agrobiodiversity, as we know that it is a subset of general biodiversity, and we know that it furthers, if you look into what actually that agrobiodiversity based on those definition, it further comprises, genetic, population, species, community, ecosystem, landscape components, human interaction with all these, right? Again, if you look the definition of those agrobiodiversity from a layman point of view, it includes biodiversity of crop areas as well as that of outside the farm boundaries, which are beneficial for agriculture and that play a role in the regulation of ecosystem function. Here, a point to be noted down when we are looking towards the scope of agrobiodiversity, in that we can make a distinction between the plant or controlled biodiversity and the associated biodiversity. When you talk about plant agrobiodiversity, it is the crops and animal husbandry systems chosen by the farmer, while the associated biodiversity is about, or it refers to organisms, including the soil fauna and weeds in that system which colonize the ecosystem without human support. So, plant biodiversity or harvested species include domesticated crop species, that is like cereal, pulses, vegetable, fruits, spices, and so on. Then wild relatives of crops including woodland and aquatic plants that use for food and other natural sources based products. Then including our domestic and wild animals that use for food, fiber, milk, hides, furs, furs, and so on. And it also includes aquatic fishes and other aquatic animals. So again, when we talk about the associated agrobiodiversity or non-harvested species, we can look into two categories. First category is that include non-harvested species within production ecosystem that perform supporting or regulating functions in agroecosystem. For example, diversity of soil organism, pollinators, and pest predator. So this kind of species, non-harvested species, play a very important role in soil nutrient turnover, soil organic matter, then soil organic matter dynamic, pollination, biological pest controls. And the second category that include that non-harvested species in the wider environment. One is within the production ecosystem, what we talk in the first ecosystem. The second category is in the wider environment that support food production ecosystem, like the species that are present in the field margin, surrounding forests, rangelands, and aquatic ecosystem. We have seen leaf litter that produced by the forestry species. That leaf litter, that aid the fertility of soil in agricultural field. Now you will see that direct benefit if you belong to a hilly areas, right, mountain areas, and so thus in that way we can say that such forestries also include that as a part of agrobiodiversity. If we look into the way we are studying the agrobiodiversity, and most of the conventional studies, major attention is given to cultivated varieties and to crop wild relatives. So in that we can look at cultivated varieties into into two category. One is the modern varieties, and that the second is the farmers or traditional varieties. So when we talk about modern varieties, they are the outcome of formal breeding programs and are often characterized as high yielding. For example, the short straw wheat and rice varieties of the Jane Green Revolution, they are some of the examples of modern varieties. In contrast to that, as we call this that farmers or traditional varieties, sometimes this is also called as landraces, are the product of breeding and selection carried out by the farmers over the generation. Together, these varieties represent a high level of genetic diversity and are therefore the major focus of most of crop genetic resources conservation efforts. And again, if you look into the aquatic system, now we have seen a number of diversity, food diversity in the aquatic system also. They are also important component of agricultural biodiversity. Like we have seen varieties of water fish, freshwater fish, marine fish, prawn, and so on. Even in the plant also we have seen a number of edible aquatic plants. Right? They provided food supply, and in some area, if you look into the wetland area, you will see those plants support substantial income to the communities living in those areas, right, near the water bodies. In coming to the distinctive feature of agrobiodiversity, when we are trying to understand the distinctive feature, then we have to look back to the what general biodiversity. When we talk about general biodiversity, it includes diversity of all life forms. And when you talk about agrobiodiversity, it refers to the diversity that relate to food production and agriculture, as well as all of the components of biological diversity which constitute in that agroecosystem. Again, general biodiversity is represented, if you look into the figure as of, so far we are able to identify about 1.8 million species of plant and animals on the earth. But the agrobiodiversity are about 40,000 species. They are used for human society for different purposes in the different parts of the world. So, in addition to that, we have seen a number of several distinctive features of agrobiodiversity that makes it different from other component of general biodiversity. The evolution of general biodiversity is a natural process. Well, if we look into the evolution of agrobiodiversity, it is largely facilitated by human intervention in the form of, the practices we follow, like farming, breeding, and the selection of different crops. Many of the components of agrobiodiversity would not survive without such kind of human interference, right? So, and again, many of the economically important agricultural systems are based on aligned crop of livestock species introduced from elsewhere. For example, horticultural production system. No, they are, aligned species from in one country, and they are native to another country. So this kind of process creates a high degree of interdependence between countries for the genetic resources on which our food system are based, right? Again, while general biodiversity is often described at the level of, the level of species, right, when you talk about biodiversity, but when you talk about the agrobiodiversity, it is described at both level of genetic diversity as well as species diversity, right? Conservation of agrobiodiversity is inherently, linked to its sustainable use in agroecosystem and has a close relationship with livelihood of farmers' community, local knowledge, and cultural integral parts of agrobiodiversity management. Preservation through establishing protected area is less relevant for agrobiodiversity. But in case of some industrial type agriculture system, crop diversity is, you will see, they are preserved in an ex situ engine bank or breeders material rather than on farming in situ. So we have an understanding about basic concept of agrobiodiversity as a student of sustainability, how we have to understand in broader context again, and what are its importance, how it is different from general biodiversity. Now, what are the origin of those cultivated plants, which are very important, highly important to the human society, who drives the growth of civilization? As we know that this particular agrobiodiversity is the outcome of thousands of years of efforts by farmers' communities. We know that selection and breeding in this process, they created species, breeds, and varieties that are adapted optimally to the condition in that regions of their origin, and best meets the need of their breeders. So the origin of crop plant is now can be looked into in order to locate how it was started to planted from its wild related, means related species, and and how we use the new genes, especially for dominant genes, and then such kind of disease resistant for the purpose of recultivating or cultivating is a part of agrobiodiversity. So the knowledge of the origins of crop plant is vitally important in order to avoid genetic erosion due to the loss of germplasm as well as loss of habitat. So germplasm preservation is accomplished through gene banks and the preservation of natural habitat. And when we talk about centers, especially in centers of origin. So that 8 centers of origin of agrobiodiversity, which is also known as Vakilov centers of origin of cultivated plants. In fact, they were very first described by Dr. Nikolai Ivanovich Vavilov. So all the crop varieties used at present, they are originated from one of these centers of origin. So these areas still continue to be home to this largest pool of agricultural biodiversity. So let us have a look into what are those 8 centers of origins. Right. See in this map, you will find out the different 8 centers of origin. Right. In here we had in the first you will see South Mexican Central American Center. Then in that second you will see South American Center. When you look into South American Center, in this the map you will find 2A is Chiloe Center, 2B is Brazilian Peruvian Center. In the same way, it is indicated by its numbering. So Coming to the first center of origin, means first cell number 1 that indicated South Mexican and Central American center. So, and it includes southern section of Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras and Costa Rica. So, it is the origin of grains and legumes like maize, common beans, lima beans, tefari beans, jack beans, grain amaranth. Then melon plants, then fiber plants, and many more like sweet potato, arrowroot, pepper, papaya, guava, cashew, wild black cherry, cherry, tomato, and cacao. Right. And coming to the second center of origin is South American center. It has listed about 62 plants and 3 sub-center. That one is in a Peruvian Ecuadorian Bolivian center. That is the origin of root tubers. And then like Indian potato, the Andean potato and other endemic cultivated potato species, and 14 or more species with chromosome number varying from 24 to 60, and then edible nested tube. Okay. Then few of the grains and legumes like starchy maize, lima beans, common beans, root tubers like edible canna, potato, vegetable crops like pepino, tomato, ground cherry, pumpkin, pepper, then some of the fiber plants like Egyptian cotton, then some of the fruit and that others like cocoa, passion flower, guava, halebone, quinine tree and tobacco. When you look into that center of origin in this map 2A, that's called Chiloe Center, that include island near the coast of southern Chile, that is common potato of 48 chromosomes, they are originated from here, right? Then strawberry also, right? So in the 2B, we will see in this map, this is a part of Brazilian Paraguayan center. It is the origin of manioc, peanut, rubber tree, pineapple, Brazil nut, cashew, purple, granadilla, right? And if you look into this map, the third one, Mediterranean center, that includes the border of Mediterranean Sea, and it has so far listed 84 plants as center of origin from this area, like cereals and legumes like durum wheat, emmer, polished wheat, spelt, Mediterranean oats, sand oats, canary grass, grass pea lupin. Then forest plants like Egyptian clover, white clover, crimson clover, serradella, and oil and fiber plants like flax, raff, black mustard, olive, vegetable, garden beet, cabbage, turnip, lettuce, asparagus, and ethereal oil and species plants like caraway, anise, thyme, and few of you will see in this then the listed, which is listed here, right? You can see that. Then the Middle East center of origin include interior of Asia Minor, all of Transcaucasia, Iran, then the highland of Turkmenistan, and identified so far 83 species which is originated from Middle East, includes that incorn wheat, durum wheat, pulchred wheat, common wheat, oriental wheat, Mediterranean oats, common oats, lentil, lupin from the family of grains and legumes. If you look from the family of forest plants like alfalfa, Persian clover, fenugreek, bats, hairy bats. Then family of fruits that include fig, pomegranate, apple, pear, quince, cherry, and hawthorns are origin from Middle East. Then if you look to the origin of Ethiopia region, like that region includes Abyssinia, Eritrea, and part of Somaliland. That has 38 species so far listed, and these are rich in wheat and barley, as you know. Some of the grain and legumes originated from here are Abyssinian hard wheat, poleward wheat, then emmer, polished wheat, barley, grain, sorghum, and pearl millet, African millet, cowpea, flax, teff, and many more like sesame, castor bean, garden cress, coffee, okra, mirha, and indigo. And coming to the Central Asiatic center, which includes northwest India like Punjab, northwest frontier province and Kashmir, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and western Tian Shan. And so far about 43 plants is identified, plants in the sense that agriculture and crops are identified from this region, I mean originated from this area, like that grains and legumes like common wheat, club wheat, sword wheat, peas, lentil, horse bean, chickpea, mung bean, mustard, flax, sesame. Hemp, cotton from fiber plants, onion, garlic, spinach, carrot among the vegetables, pistachio, pear, almond, grape, apple among the fruits, they are originated from here. Then if you look into from the Indian center, we have in Indian center have two sub-centers. One is in the Indo-Burma. That main center is Hindustan. It includes Assam and Burma, but northwest India or northwest frontier province. It is, and so far in this from that Assam and Burma region, Indo-Burma region, we have identified 117 plants from this origin, center of origin. Cereals and legumes like rice, chickpea, pigeon pea, earth beans, mung bean, rice bean, cowpea, and some of the family of vegetable tubers like eggplant, cucumber, radish, taro, yam are produced from this area. Fruits like mango, orange, tangerine, citron, lemon, and so on, like sugar, oil, fiber plants like sugar cane, coconut palm, sesame, safflower, tree cotton. These are some of the lists, and many more. I mean, spices, that is stimulants, dyes are from this region like black pepper, gum arabic, sandalwood, indigo, cinnamon tree, cotton, then bamboo. And coming to the second one, that's Siam Malaya Java, that has Scott Indo-Malayan Center. It includes Indochina and the Malaya archipelago that identified 55 plants. That cereals and legumes like tears, velvet bean from the fruits family, pomelo, banana, breadfruit, mangosteen, and from the family of oil, sugar, spice and fiber plants include candle nut, coconut palm, sugarcane, clove, nutmeg, black pepper, manila, hemp, etc. So if you look into the Chinese center, that is a total of 136 endemic plants are listed, and it is one of the largest independent that center of origin. Cereals, legumes like broomcorn millet, Italian millet, Japanese barnyard millet, Kolyang buckwheat, hull maize, barley, soybean, azuki bean, velvet beans are from this region. And vegetables, roots and tubers like Chinese yam, radish, Chinese cabbage, onion, cucumber are origin from this. And that fruits and nuts like pear, Chinese apple, peach, apricot, cherry, walnut, lychee, sugar, drug and fiber plants like sugarcane, opium, poppy, ginseng, camphor, hemp are from this Chinese center of origin. So we have understand about what are the center of origin of different plants. We have crop and crop plants, right? So, and coming to animal genetic diversity is also part of agrobiodiversity, as we know that. So we know that livestock and animal diversity and the role it play in this agrobiodiversity, maintaining agrobiodiversity is the key and a vital part. It's a vital part of agrobiodiversity. So far, more than 40 livestock species, they are contributing to today's agriculture and food production, and these are the species that shape, these species are shaped by a long history of domestication and development. So, selection pressure resulting from environmental stress factor and the controlled breeding and husbandry imposed by humans, they have combined to produce a great variety of genetically distinct breeds, right? So, this diversity, which was developed over thousands of years, is a valuable resource for today's livestock keeper. So, genetically diverse livestock population provide a greater range of options for meeting future challenges, whether associated with environmental change or emerging disease threats, new knowledge of a nutritional requirement, fluctuating market condition or changing societal needs, right? Then based on the state of world's animal genetic resource for food and agriculture, which is the first global assessment livestock biodiversity that draws from the 169 country. The report says that the contribution from a report that says that thousands of years of animal husbandry, what it has evolved, right? And we know that this these are evolved because of the controlled breeding combined with the effect by natural selection, and that have given rise to great genetic diversity among the world livestock population. High output animals intensely bred to supply uniform products under controlled management condition. They coexist with multi-purpose breeds kept by small-scale farmers and herders, mainly in low external input production of system. So this animal genetic biodiversity, they need to be maintained properly, and effective management of this animal genetic diversity is essential to global food security and for sustainable development and livelihoods of hundreds of millions of people. So if you look into the livestock sector and the international community, the challenges we face in this particular livestock sector, some of the few challenges are the rapidly rising demand for livestock products in many parts of the developed world, then that emerging animal diseases, climate change, and global targets like this MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, which we have passed on, then the present continuing sustainable development goals, etc., needs to be addressed. That's already addressed there also. So many breeds have a unique characteristic or combination of characteristics. For example, this is resistant, tolerance of climatic extreme or supply with specialized products that could contribute to meeting all these challenges in front of us. However, if some of the evidence suggests that there is ongoing, probably accelerating erosion of the genetic resource base. So, if I summarize what we have discussed today in this session, is we know that agrobiodiversity refers to the variety and variability of living organisms that contribute to food production system and associated activities. Agrobiodiversity is the result of careful selection and the inventive developments of farmers, livestock breeders, forest workers, fishermen, indigenous people throughout the world over millennia. And so far, more than 40 livestock species that contribute to today's agriculture and food production are shaped by a long history of domestication and development. And we have also looked into center of origin of diversity in today's session. Thank you very much. Let us enjoy the new way of learning. Thank you.